Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today we've got the pleasure of watching Shut Up and Let Me Carry playing in the Tier 7 Soviet tank destroyer. It's the Su-100M1. There's multiple reasons why I wanted to feature this replay on the channel. One, I love it because it features non-stop aggression, and what more do you really want from a game of World of Tanks, especially when you're playing in a frontal tank destroyer like the Su-100M1. Secondly, because this vehicle is going to be very popular. I think it was starting from Wednesday that the Soviet tank destroyers, well I should say Wednesday of last week, that the Soviet tank destroyers leading up to the 268 version 4 are currently top of the tree, meaning that you're going to be seeing a lot of them in the matchmaker. And I wanted to highlight in today's video just how powerful they can be, talk about a little bit how you can try and deal with them and the pitfalls that you can try to avoid, which, spoilers, most of the enemy team are not going to be able to avoid those pitfalls, and also give maybe some of you who are thinking about going down this line a little bit of motivation. So I had a full tech tree showcase on the Soviet tank destroyers yesterday, and they kind of reached this sweet spot around about Tier 6. Tier 6, the Su-100 is this kind of all-round damage dealer with a decent enough alpha damage with its 122mm, which I prefer to use. It's kind of this shock and awe, but it has absolutely no armor. It's not until you play the Su-100M1 where suddenly the vehicles completely change. This thing now has 160mm of effective lower hull armor when somebody's just sitting in front of it shooting down at it, and about 200mm of upper hull armor. And the superstructure on this tank, this superstructure on this vehicle will have a stupefying effect on the enemy team if they continue to just bang their head against it, and that is because it's packing about 240mm of effective upper hull protection, or should I say the structure around the gun of this vehicle. And you really do not want to ever engage one of these tanks if they're hiding their lower plate, and if they're hiding their upper plate, unless you've got a real big caliber gun. And considering this tank is sitting at Tier 7, that's not often the case that you're going to have that big caliber gun. Now, Shut Up and Let Me Carry. I love the name, by the way. I just feel like that would be the easiest YouTube video ever if I was just to record it and upload it without actually having me wobble on. Hopefully add a little bit of color to the gameplay. I guess I'm going to have to kind of break your namesake here, and I hope you don't mind me warbling on over your epic carry here. With the Su-100M1, Shut Up and Let Me Carry titled this thing as just constantly pushing forwards, and that's exactly what you've got to do when you're a top tier tank destroyer, and it's why these top tier tank destroyers can be so dominant inside the game. You'll probably know that heavy tanks and heavily armored vehicles are amongst the most dominant inside World of Tanks. If a team has an extra heavy tank compared to the enemy team, they're most likely going to have a higher chance to be able to win. Now, sometimes Wargaming Matchmaker screws up and puts more heavies on one team than the other. That team is more often than not statistically going to win, because heavy tanks are just those all-round vehicles that are great. There's a reason why you want to have a gun, there's a reason why you want to have some armor, and quite often mobility is not the key to being able to win the battle for the majority of players. Where the Su tank destroyers are just so powerful leading up to the 268 version 4 are that it effectively gives the team that has them on an additional heavy tank. This is not one of those kind of glass cannon tank destroyers that wants to sit at the back. This is one of those tank destroyers that wants to get in your face. And what just happened is possibly one of the most saddest things, I think, in World of Tanks over the last year. And that is that a KV-2 shoots an Su-100M1 for a paltry 23 damage. The very rounds that were meant to counter these heavily armored tanks now feel that they're useless against them. And it's no wonder why a vehicle like the Su-100M1 and also the 87 are packing the best win ratio of any of the Tier 7 tank destroyers. And that is because if you can have pretty much all of the statistics that the other tanks have, but you can also have armor as well, but pretty much only sacrificing maybe a little bit of DPM or a little bit of alpha damage, as is the case with the Su-100M1. You just got that raw power to be able to push through the situation. And Shut Up and Let Me Carry is kind of doing at least the last part of their name, carrying super hard in this game. But with 5 seconds left on the cap, make that 12 seconds left on the cap. loading a high explosive round to be able to get a guaranteed interrupt there. You're going to see Shut Up and Let Me Carry doing just that. Pushing into a position, going into the perfect scenario for this tank, which is to sit here, hold down. If you can manage to get one of these tank destroyers in this scenario where you're hiding that lower plate, only exposing the upper plate, this is just where this tank is absolutely god tier. And then all that's left is to go to town. There's 4 tanks inside the cap circle. Shut Up and Let Me Carry's team is doing a little bit of work with regards to slowing them down, but Shut Up and Let Me Carry is the one that's just grinding through these tanks and forcing them now to have to push out to try and flank the impenetrable Soviet tank destroyer. Even firing gold, the Panther M10 is futile against the Soviet vehicle. And I would say, lucky for us at home, the T-2580 on the enemy team just reset Shut Up and Let Me Carry's team from being able to cap out the cap circle, which extends the game. So the game's not going to end in a cap. Shut Up and Let Me Carry stopping the enemy team from being able to cap, and also the T-2580 doing that on the other flank. So Shut Up and Let Me Carry has just vanquished 3 tanks inside the cap circle, make that 4 tanks inside the cap circle, now up to 8 kills. That is a Radley Walters medal secured. But a Tiger which looks like they have all of the field mods there with 1,550 hit points. Maybe the German beast of Berlin is going to be the one that stops the Soviet tank. Well, it doesn't look like it there, with the Tiger whiffing a shell into the track of the Su-100M1. Shut Up and Let Me Carry decides that he's not going to leave anything to chance, repairs the track and tries to hide the lower plate. But actually, the Tiger manages to penetrate for 313 damage, now leaving Shut Up and Let Me Carry on a single shot, but manages to vanquish the Tiger on Berlin, picking up 9 kills now. And you know what, Shut Up and Let Me Carry, I wish you would actually just slow down for a second and give me a chance to actually be able to add something to this game here. I probably should have just shut up and just played this one through. It's a self-explanatory game, but really, for me, is just the epitome of why these kind of Soviet tanks are just so darn meta, and they are just so darn strong inside the game. They can do everything a heavy tank can do, and they can still do 90% of what a tank destroyer can do. Sure, you'd probably rather be in an Su-152 dumping out that 700 alpha damage and laughing, but for every time the Su manages to laugh and hit that shot, the Su is just consistently chipping away, and its opponents are not doing the same to its armor. And that's where these vehicles are just so darn meta, and allowing their users to absolutely crush their games of World of Tanks. Now, I want to make a passing mention to the equipment that Shut Up and Let Me Carry was using on this vehicle. Inside the firepower slot, they were using the gun rammer, and then they were using grousers in addition to the rotation device. This actually gave Shut Up and Let Me Carry incredible traverse speed on this tank. And while I personally would probably rather take vents and a turbo instead of the rotation device and the grousers, because I want to have that extra reverse speed, which I feel is so important for controlling the engagement on this tank, there was no doubt that the grousers on much of the medium terrain of Berlin allowed Shut Up and Let Me Carry to be able to get up to a decent traverse speed, and undoubtedly it would have helped the traverse speed more than a turbo would have in this vehicle. The rotation device on this tank, I think, sure, it's going to be able to help out the traverse speed. It's going to be able to help out the fairly mediocre dispersion values that this thing has when it's moving and when it's turning the gun. If any of you out there maybe don't quite have the reactions of Shut Up and Let Me Carry, then maybe instead you want to go for a durability module on this vehicle to try and keep your tracks up more often, and a gun rammer and vents. But be warned, if you set your vehicle up in that way, your mobility will significantly suffer. Shut Up and Let Me Carry crushed one of the biggest games in the shortest times that I have ever seen. A Pools medal for securing 10 kills, a high caliber for 6,685 damage, and of course an ace tanker for 2,421 base experience. You could probably get a third less, or even maybe half of that, and still pick up an ace tanker in this vehicle. A defender medal for killing 4 tanks inside the cap circle, I believe, and also getting 100 base defense points. A steel wall for being able to block 2,745 damage, enough to nearly kill the tank 3 times over. And due to the distinct lack of gold that was found in this game until Shut Up and Let Me Carry ran out of their standard ammunition, a very decent profit with or without a premium account. Although, unfortunately, that was with Wargaming's now ended 50% credit bonus. And for all of this to be achieved in just over 7 minutes, truly shows you how brutal this tank is. I want to take a moment to also clarify that I really just don't feel like this is kind of great tank design for the game. And if anyone ever questions why the game is getting faster and why you're also having more one-sided battles when you have vehicles like this one that are just so meta, all can-do vehicles that can be the heavy tank and just go and sit in front of vehicles and render them completely obsolete, unlike pretty much every other tier 7 tank destroyer, apart from maybe the 87, if they don't shoot the huge weak point that's on top of the tank. Then this kind of massive disparity between the vehicles, especially when they're in the hands of truly skilled players, allows people with undoubtedly confident names like ShutUpAndLetMeCarry actually live up to it. So ShutUpAndLetMeCarry, congratulations to you on this monster game in the SU100M1. It pretty much showed everything there is to say about this vehicle and why this line is so darn strong and so meta, and you'd be pretty ignorant to not at least consider having a little bit of a dabble in it while they are top of the tree. And thank you so much for uploading this replay on the What Replays website. I truly loved the non-stop aggression. It's something that is just so addictive to play World of Tanks in that fashion, and to see it work out in this absolutely tremendous fashion was absolutely wonderful. And I really hope that everyone out there enjoyed this video and the commentary that I added onto it. If you did, give the video a thumbs up. If you hated it, however, give it a thumbs down. And let me know in the comments down below, what is your favorite tank when you want to have just non-stop aggression? And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.